Good morning and happy Friday to everybody. I pray that this devotional finds you well. In my last devotional, I gave a brief COVID update, so let me follow up with another COVID update. The first half of my COVID experience consisted of relatively mild symptoms, low-grade fever, some body aches, and some fatigue. The second half of my COVID experience was basically symptom-free. I felt good for the second half of my isolation. And frankly, the most challenging part of it all was being isolated. I was isolated down here in Beth's bedroom in the basement of my house, and not being able to see my family, not being able to go out and about was probably the most challenging part. So I was thankful when this past Monday came and my isolation ended and I had the opportunity to go to the office for a few hours. And this week I've been a little bit freer to move out and about. My son Noah, his isolation ends today. His experience was similar. He had a sore throat for the first half of his, but the second half has been relatively easy, and he's thankful to be out of isolation as well. So hopefully, this COVID experience at our household is done and gone. And again, I thank you for those of you who reached out to us. Many of you texted, sent emails, or even sent cards to encourage us and to let us know that you are praying for us. And that was a great encouragement to us. So thank you for thinking of us. Thank you for praying for us. It was a tremendous encouragement to me and my family. Well, for a few minutes left this Friday morning, let's dive back into the Gospel of Mark. And before we dive into the text, I want you to think about how our knowledge and anticipation of the future impacts how we live today. You know, this is something I see in our students on a regular basis. Many of our students are athletes, and their knowledge and anticipation of a future sports season impacts how they live today because they'll start training several months ahead of time. Maybe they'll take lessons. Maybe they'll go to a camp. Maybe they'll do some running or some swimming on their own. And they do that in anticipation of what is coming in the future, those tryouts that are so important, and that upcoming season that is so important. The same is true for our band students. They may be anticipating an audition, or they may be anticipating an important performance. And that knowledge of what is coming in the future impacts how they live today. They spend more time doing their scales. They spend more time reviewing their music. If they're going to perform with an ensemble, they spend more time meeting together so that they can be prepared and ready to go when the time comes. The same can be true academically, as most of them are anticipating college in one format or another. It impacts the courses they take. It impacts how hard they study today. And this is true not only of students, but it's true for all of us, isn't it? Think about planning a summer vacation. If you're like me, when you start thinking about a summer vacation, several months ahead of time, you're going to start looking for things to do, looking for places to go. You may even reserve a hotel room or a plane ticket if that's what you need to do. You'll ask your place of work for time off. You'll start scheduling and you'll start planning today in anticipation of what's coming in the future. And I think of retirement, whether you're 5 years away or decades away from retiring, the knowledge that retirement is in the future impacts how we spend our money, how we save our money today. The point is, in every aspect of our lives, knowledge and anticipation of the future impacts how we live today. The same is true in our relationship with Jesus Christ. I'm sure most of you have noticed that at least once a month at Grand Ledge Baptist Church, we will recite the Apostles' Creed. We love the Apostles' Creed because here is a centuries-old summary of the essentials of the Christian faith. It's a wonderful summary of that which is most important in our beliefs. And one of those beliefs is the belief that Jesus will come again. The creed says he will come again to judge the living and the dead. And that is an extremely important belief, both biblically, but it's also a belief that impacts how we live today. Our knowledge, our anticipation that Jesus Christ will come again greatly impacts how we live today. And this is what we find at the end of Mark chapter 13, beginning in verse 32. There are really two things that this passage highlights. The first thing that it highlights is that we do not know when Jesus is going to come again. Verse 32, but about that day or hour, no one knows. You don't know. I don't know. We know that Jesus will return, but we don't know when Jesus will return. Mark continues, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Now that's a challenging theological statement. The idea that the Son, Jesus Christ himself, is said to not know when he will return. I'm going to table that theological challenge and allow you to think about that on your own. And if you want to talk about it further, you can reach out to me. But let me move down to verse 35. Therefore, keep watch because you do not know. The first point is we do not know. You know, Christians have made a habit. We've even made a sport of trying to predict when Jesus will return. Can I just encourage you that whenever you hear a preacher, whenever you read a book, whenever you hear someone saying, this is when Jesus will return, let me encourage you to ignore them. Let me encourage you to go back to Mark chapter 13, where it says quite clearly, we do not know the time. We do not know the hour, because that's not what's most important. Rather, it is the second emphasis of this passage that is most important. And I want you to notice the phrases that are used. Be on guard. Be alert. Keep watch. Do not let him find you sleeping. Watch. Notice that these are words of being prepared for the day when Jesus returns. The idea is not that we will know when, but that we will be ready whenever it comes, whether it comes tonight, whether it comes at the end of our lives, or whether it comes in future decades or centuries. We do not know, but that's not the point. The point of the passage is an encouragement to be prepared for that day whenever it will come. To be prepared by staying faithful. To be prepared by trusting Christ. To be prepared by living lives that honor Christ, living lives that glorify Christ, living lives that make Christ known, living lives of obedience, so that no matter when Jesus returns, when he returns, he will find us faithful, he will find us trusting, and he will find us obedient. Each and every one of us should live each and every day as if Jesus is coming today. May we trust him today. May we place our faith in him today. May we be obedient to him today. And may we take the opportunity to tell others about him today. Have a wonderful weekend.